Hello, everybody. Happy to see you here. And I'm looking forward for the exchange, because obviously it will be an exchange. I'm not going to give you a master class on the competitions. I'm going to have a conversation with you. So now we are talking about, I said, the subject of today is assessment center for the AD. And obviously, how could I support you in this process? So obviously, I'm not going to restrict myself to the assessment center. I'm going to cover the whole process of selection, whether it is the selection for the EPSO competitions or whether there are other selection processes, because what is important for you, if ever you are new to this, is to know that the selection processes not only in the institutions but across in the world, these selection processes are very similar, right? So once you prepare a selection process, let's say for an agency, for a contractual agent, for a whatever, temporary agent, then you could go out, that means to the UN or to the African Bank, and still go through the same process. Now, so you understand that this aspect is essential for you. Why? Because hopefully, hopefully you pass an EPSO AD and you're done for life, or if not, then you could recycle your preparation and you go to other agents, European agency, or you go to other international institutions or big companies. All of them, they do the same selection process. Makes sense? So that's why I would like to go through it. And you keep in mind that this is the process that is done today in the world, and you could recycle it. Makes sense? So, and then I say you could recycle it, but as well you could, let's call it, you could train yourself by going in other, for other selection processes, not going for the first time in the one that you are really interested in. I give you the situation of one of my clients. So I had yesterday the coaching with him. It's 36 years old, so very young. He just passed an 89 competition. Now, we are together for some years, right? So we have done together 85, I think, 87, and now 89. So this is the third competition we prepare together, you know, as an old team. How do we say that? You don't change the winning team, right? So we just go for the next. And yesterday we were talking about that now he should go for management positions, obviously. And therefore, we were making the strategy where to apply, what kind of jobs or the positions of management. And then what I said is exactly as I said to you, we should go for positions that are not necessarily your choice, let's say the best choice, but you could use as training ground, you see. So what I'm saying to you is that there are competitions that you could use as a training ground for the real good competition that you want to win. Makes sense? Because it might be that by going through this process again, and let's say once or twice, you will be much better prepared by the time you get to your competition, the one that you are really qualified and you really want to pass. You follow me? Makes sense? Sometimes you could nod, so I know that you hear me. And you could even smile sometimes because it will look better on my side. And I suppose that your jury will appreciate it, but at least you could smile. It makes it more humane as a relationship. So let me start with the beginning. So the first thing that I could do for you, which is the writing, really drafting the CV and the 4 questions of the motivation. Now, some of you will say it doesn't matter because in any case they don't check, in any case they don't score, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I do hear what you say. My point is that if I go for a competition, I will go full in. So I will prepare the documents the best I can, and therefore I will rewrite a CV, and I will certainly conceive the best I can the 4 questions of motivation to be sure that I have, let's say, high quality documents for application. But obviously, this is your choice. Now, once you have done this, they said that we could have at a certain point like a questionnaire about your professional life, which is the one that might, let me see how they phrase it. Yeah, I don't find that, but it was a certain moment they said something like a questionnaire on the professional life or a summary of the professional life, which is something that they use already in the selection of the management, right? So whenever I prepare for the head of unit, director, DG position, there is a questionnaire of your professional life where we go through about what, 10, 15 questions, and then we respond to these questions, which is like I'm saying, like similar to the talent screener from before. But okay, for the moment, if we don't have, then obviously we will not bother to do anything like this. Now, once we finish with this, let's call it application form, then we go to the things that need a lot of practice. So that's why I would say it's good that you are here. And hopefully you will get the message, which is, if you have a CBT, verbal, numerical, and abstract, start the preparation really months in advance. There is no point, and you cannot do it in, let's say, in 2 weeks' time. At least you cannot do it if you are not, how to say, if you are not good, you cannot recover and you cannot increase your scores overnight. So for me, I would go for the CBT 3 months in advance at least, but be sure that you have a good method, right? So here again, I could help. I recovered quite a number of clients from their, how do you call that? Their wars and fights with the CBT. Stranger, I mean, not stranger, it's quite obvious that the ones who have done law or other humanistic sciences disciplines, subjects, they fight with numerical and abstract sometimes. And the ones who have done engineers, they are much weaker on the verbal. So there's always an angle that I have to increase or to reinforce comparing with the other. Nevertheless, again, they say you need only 50%, so you would say it doesn't matter, I would just go for 50%. Well, if it's me, I would not. I would really practice to get the highest score possible. That will be my way of doing. And then, whenever I ask my clients, I said, what would you recruit? The one with 50% or the one with 80%? I think that if you're honest, you will go with the one with 80%, right? Because you think that for the same amount of money, you will get more from the 80% scores, right? In theory, it should be more, I would say, sharper or knowledgeable or whatever. So this is the CBT. Do some months practice. How much? I would say in the beginning, you could do the practice one test at a time. So don't mix them up, just keep them separate, because you would like to have that feeling that you really master one. So until you really do well, do them separate. You know, one numerical at 8 o'clock and one verbal at 11 and the other one at 1 or something like that. So I would get just separate in order to be sure that you are not too tired, because obviously if you go for 3 in a row, this is heavy. So in the beginning, just 1 and 1 and 1. And then when your scores are good enough, then I would say, put them together, do a test. That means verbal, numerical, and abstract in one go. Hopefully, by doing, by doing exams, you know, like simulating an exam, your brain will learn to handle the how to say, the fatigue, the stress, so I would say start gently with one test at a time, but then increase to the one test once. Let's say you do one test in the morning, then you do one test at lunchtime, and then you do another test in the evening or something like that, if you have that. But then obviously, depending on the private life and professional life, you could be up to here in your professional life. You see, so this is one aspect of practice, right? Then another thing that needs preparation in advance is EU knowledge. Now, for the EU knowledge, I'm just thinking that I will introduce a session, a masterclass in how to revise, even though it's the point with the revision is very delicate in the sense that each one of you comes with a certain knowledge, EU knowledge, right? And then, which let's imagine that is a domain, right? Which could be very restrictive. And then you have to cover the whole EU policy if you go for a generalist competition. So we are now in the A generalist and 85 competition, then you will have probably EU knowledge. And I would say you have to revise EU knowledge. Whether you are a generalist, whether you are young or old, if you go for a generalist competition, then you have to have the EU knowledge and you have to revise the knowledge. Now, I'm telling you honestly that my client, when they prepare the EU knowledge, they prepare about 70, 80 fiches, right? Fiche is the French word, right? Cards. And they do one card per policy, and one card per institution, one card per whatever strategy and so on. Right? So if you count them, you will get to 70, 80. That's the number I work with my clients for the last 20 years, because this EU knowledge was required mostly in the internal competition and mostly for oral presentations. In any case, we have done the same. We prepare these cards, we prepare these fiches, and then based on them, my clients do an oral presentation. So now, if you go for the generalized competition, you have to do your revision, and then you have to do your cards 70, 80 or so, in order to be sure that you revised everything, and then you are able to go for this test. Now, the point with the EU knowledge test is that, let me see, oh, do I have a chat? I forgot to put the chat. So, no, there's nothing essential. Good. If you have questions, please put them on the chat so I could consult them. So what I was saying is that the fiches or the cards, as we said, they have to be, let me call it, quite superficial, because the questions in this EU knowledge, they are not deep. They are like, sorry to say, almost anecdotal, right? So it's not the fundamental on how do you apply the competition law, right? And the subtlety on the application. It is Sunday, do we have a competition law? And if yes, is that dealing with, you see, so it's kind of superficial, it's big picture, broad understanding so that's why when you think about 70, 80 fiches, you will say, oh my goodness, but that will be a PhD. No, because it will be 70 or 80 cards, which are just half a page. And in this half a page, then you will put just the fundamentals. And these fundamentals are like several questions. So this was the EU knowledge, right? And then I would say, if you have friends who have done the internal competition, let's say, and if they were successful, I suppose that they had idea how to prepare the oral presentation on EU policies. So you might ask your friends how they prepare the EU policies. But as I said, do your cards, superficial cards, with some questions which are the fundamental questions about that institution, policy, and strategy, and then this is what you have to revise. Then for the MCQ, I go now, it's a test in the field of competition. Now, is that superficial? I would say yes. An MCQ cannot be deep in the substance, because it's just yes, no questions, or let's say a small nuance in it. You see, so you cannot go on the deep, not to mention philosophical, but even sensitive, subtle interpretation, right? It's just down to earth. Do we have these, is the humanitarian aid responding to, I don't know, fires in Greece, or floods in South America? I don't know, something like that. So it's as I said, they are coming straight from the definitions, straight from the fundamentals of that policy. So yes, the response will be, for me, MCQ has superficial questions, as the European knowledge, superficial, right? Large, but superficial. But what is that you have to revise for the MCQ in the domain of competence? Well, that I hope you know, because it's your domain of competence. Makes sense? So if you say here that you are interested in project management, well, I hope that you know what project management involves as knowledge. So that I hope that you have manuals, you have public procurement, you have financial regulation, you have Prague for the INPA, blah, blah. So these are the things that you have to revise. Again, I don't think that the questions will be deep and subtle, but they could have, for example, what are the thresholds in a public procurement, right? Or I don't know. So what I'm saying is that every time when we are thinking about MCQ in the domain of competence, you are responsible for your domain of competence, and hopefully you know what to revise. Makes sense? So if you ask, if I have to pass an MCQ in the preparation of EPSO or whatever institution selection processes, I'm telling you, I know what to revise. I mean, I don't need to revise them, I have them in my head already. But you see what I mean? I know, because this is my body of knowledge. So now, Natalia said case study. Okay, I'm getting there. The next will be digital test. Digital literacy. Now, what is the digital literacy? If we have seen digital literacy in the past for the secretaries, right? Assistant secretary. So we kind of know it's, you know, I think that for the secretary was like a layout of the document, right? So it's like prepare a document. Obviously, it was not content, but it was form. Now, digital literacy for an AD, in theory, should not necessarily go on the layout. Makes sense. But what I would say, what I guess, right? Again, we don't have more, but what I guess is that they want to be sure that you are operational, you are proficient in using your computer. So, and if you're in the institutions, then even more, I would say, be sure that you learn all the softwares, right? So all the ARES and I don't know, CISPER, CISLOG and poetry and legis right or whatever you have to use in the institutions, because these are instruments that by using them, you show that you are literate, right, which is the point here. And by having so many, in theory, you can learn the next one easily, you see. So for me, without waiting for them to explain what is digital literacy, I will just be sure that whatever softwares I find in use in this environment, I will just learn that. So for me, that will be quite reassuring, whatever they will ask me to do. I don't think that they will go on, I don't know, very complicated databases or so. I don't think so, because they are relevant to some, but no, they are not relevant to all of you. So I will keep it to the IT that we use in institutions. I would say, for me, here is the data literacy that they will be interested to test or to, yeah, not to test and then you to have. Good, then. Competition phase. Okay, I got the application, we said, and experience profiling instrument. Okay, so this is what I was talking about, the questionnaire that now they use in the management, but they might introduce for you. But again, we will do professional experience. So it's very similar to the talent screener. Then CBT we said, this knowledge we said, MCQ we said. Now we get to what Natalia said, written test or case study. Only those with the highest scores will have this evaluated. So you see, we are getting there. You need a 50%, but it's better to have higher score. So then please start your CBT already. Start your revision of the policy, area policy. Start the revision of your domain of competence. These are three things that you have to prepare much in advance to be sure that you are competitive when the question comes. Now, case study. Case study and written test. So first of all, I do have this and everything that comes in the assessment center. I do have them in three forms for you to know. Number one, there are recordings. So you could buy the recording from the website and then you check, let's say, the recording explaining for example, the case study. So this is one. The second is that you can come to the masterclass. For example, next week I have a masterclass in, this Monday I had a masterclass on case study. Okay, too bad you were not there. Next week I will have a masterclass on competence-based interview. So the interview based on the EPSO competencies. And then the week after, I will have an interview based on the field. And then the last session of the month will be on situational CBI. Now, what I'm saying is that, coming back to the masterclass, that I have these masterclasses once a month. So that's why check the website, be sure that you obviously subscribe so this was the second way to get prepared. And the third way to get prepared is individual sessions. Now, the vast majority of my clients, they do first, they buy the recording, so they learn from the recording. Then they come in the masterclass in order to clarify all the questions that they had. And then they come in the individual sessions in order to show me case studies that they prepared so that I could correct them and hopefully I could improve them. You see, so this is the preparation in 3 steps. As I said, the case study asks, and the written test the same, they both ask for briefing, right? A briefing to your boss. Now, what is the difference between case study and the written test? In the case study, you will get a file, and the briefing to your boss should be done based on the knowledge that you get in the file. So there is nothing else that you need to bring to the file. You don't need to bring knowledge, because in theory, they will propose you a file that is outside your domain of competence. You follow me? So, don't remember whether it was Olaf or so competition, and they got something like nuclear safety, or they were in data protection and they got agriculture. You see, so it's always as far as they could from the domain of competence, so that you only deal with the information that you have in the file. So this is a case study. So you have to learn it, and normally the case study is 90 minutes. You have to learn that information in the 90 minutes, to structure, to organize it, to reorganize it or so, and then based on this knowledge that, let's say, you acquired, you write a briefing to the boss. So this is the case study. Now, the written test is very similar, except that you have to have the knowledge. So whilst in the case study, they give you the file, in the written test, you might have files, but you should know the file. So I give you one example I have in mind, which is in fact, two examples in mind for the written test. Last summer, I had the exam was Schengen competition. And for the written test in the domain, they got Schengen regulation and Schengen implementation, guidelines for implementation. Now, imagine that these two documents together, they were about 100 pages. Now, so and the point is that you cannot read them. You have 2 hours written test, you cannot read 100 pages and make sense of it. But let's say the luck was, and obviously it was conceived like this, that the participants were specialists in Schengen. So they were supposed to know the documents. And this is what my client said. Obviously, I got scared when I saw the 100 pages, but then I kind of calmed down, saying that I know them. I'm working with them every day. You see that? So the difference between the case study, where you have to read a file that you have no clue about, and you have to handle it on the spot, but then you have only 25 pages. And then you have, on the other side, you could have the 100 pages, okay, but they are in your domain of competence, so you would know quickly how to go through. Now, do they publish document with the EU knowledge we need to learn? I never heard about that. So it looks to me strange if they do. Not until now. And this is what I said, the EU knowledge is tested, for example, in the internal competitions. They never had material to study. They were supposed to find out by themselves. And the same situation is with, again, 2 years ago, we had the 85 law. So their EU knowledge was obviously EU legal knowledge, whatever. So that means everything, right? When you say EU law, is everything. They didn't get any indication. So they had to study. And that's why I said we are getting to 70, 80 fishes in order to revise the knowledge. So I was making that difference, right, between case study and written test. To conclude, you have briefings in both situations, but the difference is that in the case study, you have to learn the file on the spot, 25 pages, whilst in the written test, you have to come with the knowledge, even though they might provide you the document support, but you have to know the file because you have to handle quickly. Natalia, when you buy the recording is on the website. So please go on the website. You will certainly find, I don't know exactly where in theory, because my IT manager takes care of that. So, but what I know is that you have it. If somebody, Francesco, could you find it? The link for the recorded sessions? Or if I have somebody who knows the website, so they could just put the link there. I know that it's on the website, but I'm not able to tell you where. Right? Okay, so we are then the digital say we don't know yet. Now, we are going to the interviews, right? And we have like this, which are the ones that we use for some time now. So in theory, if you are around, you will know what I'm talking about. If not, you will learn it now on the spot. So we have one interview, which I call it general interview, right? A CBI. CBI is, okay, thank you. No, I don't understand the question. What will they judge in the new case study? The judges before. And, the case study is a lot of communication because the knowledge is not there. You cannot have the knowledge. So it's rather the way you understand, organize, synthesize information, and communicate information. So it's communication skills in the case study. What is the other question here? Yes. SCBI in the assessment center, yes, I do have a lot of advice. I have a master class at the end of the month, Marcella. I have a master class and there is a lot to do. I'm preparing now the SCBI for the defense competition and for the IT competitions. So they have both SCBI and I'm up to here in these preparations now. Obviously in individual sessions. But if not, there is a master class at the end of the month. The new, Alain said, the new case study will not be based on the competencies. It doesn't matter. The case study is, as a matter, is how to, its communication skills. So, Marcella, if you are in ICT competitions now, well, I'm telling you, I'm preparing in individual sessions a lot of your competitors in the situational test. So let me come back. Competence-based interview, CBI, what is that? They want examples, right? Examples from your professional life, obviously, in which you demonstrate the competencies. Now, you remember what I said, that you could recycle that if you go to UN. What will be the difference? Well, the difference would be that EPSO calls it analysis and creative problem solving, and UN will say analytical skills and proposing solutions. You understand? Is the same thing. So an interview on the CBI type competence-based interview, structured interview, is the same story. The institutions gives you some competence and you have to illustrate the competencies with examples. Right, Danuts and Marcella, if you want individual sessions on the SCBI, please write me an email and then I will get to you, I will get back to you for the response, right? So whoever has a urgent need now for the SCBI, as I said, defense competition and ICT competition, there are two ICT, in fact, write me and then an email and then I will see how I could find a place for you. So what I was saying is that competence-based interview means a general interview on the competencies of that institution. So pay attention to what are the competencies. And then based on that, you create responses. That means situations, you illustrate with situations to demonstrate that indeed you have that competence. As simple as that. So what I do with my clients, we prepare about 20, 30, 40 examples, right? Examples illustrating the competencies that institution wants, right? Having said so, they are very similar. So don't think that commission wants white and the other institution wants black. No, they are very similar. So once you have done let's say one preparation, then you will know how to do whatever institution is in the world asking for these competencies. Second, we are talking about, I don't have it here, but let's call it the field-related interview that I have to prepare now. I think for IT, I will have a field-related. Right, so the field-related interview is, again, examples, but they are the examples on the domain of competence, right? So whilst in the CBI, you were demonstrating the EPSO competencies, now in the FRI, field-related interview, you demonstrate the duties. You follow me? So that is still examples. So there are two interviews with examples from your professional life, but one to demonstrate competencies, EPSO competencies, the other one to demonstrate duties of the job. So, for example, as I said, I'm preparing now a lot in the 86 competition of the commission. It's 86 internal competition, so I have a lot of clients on that. So if we think about the CBI, then we say, give me a situation when you propose a new solution. You see, so this is EPSO competence. And if we think about the field related, then the question will be, give me a situation when you design a policy. You see, there is a difference in competence, duty. So these are the two interviews. Now, what I still do here is based interview. So the situational interview, I call it. So the situational interview has a situation, a file. Now, until now, they got the files 2 weeks in advance at least. So, and could you imagine my clients write to me, so how could I prepare for the session? I respond back, learn by heart the file. That's the response, you see, because you have to handle a discussion, right? You have to handle a discussion with your assessor in the condition of the file. So what I'm saying is learn it by heart. Now, the situational file for the IT, I was working it yesterday. This was like just, what, 8 pages, 5. So it's not a big fuss. But then you have to really know it by heart, because then based on that file, we start on the questions. So, okay, you are the assistant to blah, blah, responsible for the file, blah, blah. What do you do if your colleague takes a sick leave and you are left alone to deliver this? No? So you see, this is the essence of the situational interview. We are in a situation, what do you do? You follow me, right? So that's the essence. Your situation, you know. Now, what do you do if the colleague doesn't come, the boss is not there, they move you the deadline, you know, situation like everybody has in the professional life. And now, obviously, what I prepare with my clients is this, the subtlety of how do I respond? What is right to say? What is not right to say? You see, so obviously we are going to something like the ideal professional attitude. And hopefully I mean, hopefully we prepare in advance all the questions so that my client is not surprised or shocked by the question in the interview. I have in mind one a Greek client, and she went for an exam in the parliament. And the assessor was saying to her all the time, well, okay, let's not, deliver because the boss is not there. Or let's not deliver the high quality because in any case, he doesn't see because he's in holiday. Or at least let's not do it now on Friday, but let's do it on Monday. So blah, blah. You see, so what I'm saying is that the jury, the assessor was trying all the time to take, shortcuts to the delivery. And my client was staying, very serious and very professional, saying, no, I deliver the quality, I deliver in that, like blah, 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 blah. I don't know how many questions, I would say we don't know, a lot of them, right? I get clients who send me back, obviously, the feedback after their exam, and I have at least 15 questions. But what I would say is that what is important in the attitude in this situation is that, one, obviously, they want to test your professional attitude. So what I would advise you is don't talk too much, because if you talk too much, they cannot ask enough questions. But the problem I could see is that if they cannot ask enough questions, then they might, ils vont rester sur leur faim, because they cannot ask you enough questions, you see. So what you have, your interest, I would say, in an interview is to respond quickly to the questions so that they can go through all the questions that they prepared. So I will certainly not drag on the responses. I will certainly give quickly, precise responses to move on. I mean, to allow them to ask me the questions, you see. Right, so this is a situational, and then we have the oral presentation. And we do already oral presentation. So now, for example, in the defense competitions, they have an oral presentation. And then previously, I have done oral presentations with the lawyer linguist. And I'm just thinking, even in the 85 law, I think they had an oral presentation. Now, how is that organized? You receive the file in advance. As you receive the file, let's say for situational, and as they received some files for the case studies, not always, but sometimes. Again, we start with the beginning. Learn the file by heart. That's the point. And then from there, what I'm doing now, for example, I'm creating with my clients scenarios, right? So they learn the file by heart. I'm telling you, I know all the files by heart by now, but with all the competitions, because I'm working with them every day. So this is the first condition, learn them by heart. Second condition, create, anticipate subjects for a presentation. So then we anticipate, and I said to my client, at the end of session, for example, yesterday I was having, and say, look, now you do 5 presentations on these 5 scenarios. To me, they cannot give you anything else because this is what it looks to me from the file. And then yesterday, my client wrote me, let me show you. So she said, I got 1 presentation out of the 5 that you asked me to prepare. You see what I mean? Because I was saying, look, there are 5 things that I imagine they could ask, so prepare 5 presentations. And she said, 1 out of the 5. And I responded, what we prepared. And she said, yes, good. You see, so what I'm saying is that the way forward is whether it's an oral presentation, whether it's an SCBI, whether it's even the case study, first you study the file and then you try, hopefully you succeed, to anticipate the assignments. And then you do in advance, thank God you have the file, you do in advance these options, which is what we have done now with clients for the oral presentation and for situational. And okay, and we are there. Yes, I could see that there, say from 2024, which is, you know, very close, will be e-tray. Now, e-tray we have done in the past. So I would say as soon as they introduce it, I will introduce the masterclass on it. So I know what it's about. We have done years of e-tray, good. Role play will be very similar with the situational. So yes, we could, we'll wait to see what it is, but in any case, I could propose a masterclass on the role play. I suppose that will be again on the professional attitude, so not a big fuss. Linguistic test, probably they will come very close to verbal reasoning, because at the end of the day, this is what they want to see, how well you use the language. So the only way to test this is through verbal reasoning. And then personality test, that again, I could propose a masterclass, because I'm doing personality tests for the managers forever, right? For the 25 years since I do preparation, I always do a personality test, because the managers, they are always tested on the personality. So I would say I have, if they come out, then please write to me, asking for a masterclass or so. And in an e-tray will be, it's easy, I mean, it's easy, I know I have done it already. And the role play, because again, the role play I do for the managers. You see what I'm saying? So if they go here, they go on tests that are done already for the managers. So role play I do for the managers. And then again, personality test I do for the managers. So there are 3 tests that I could immediately propose as a masterclass or individual session, obviously. So with that, I suppose that I covered your interest. Do I have questions? Yes, preparing for the environment. Yes, I mean, I prepare everything. Almost everything. Yes, absolutely. So whenever it's about private sessions, write to me an email on the contact. And if it's a masterclass, then you have the link on the website. And then if it's the recording, again, you have the link on the website. And with that, I suppose that we are clarified for a Friday afternoon to get your weekend running. And I hope to see you in some occasions, even the ones who are in Greece or across the ocean. Okay, good. No more questions, which means that you are all clear. And thank you, and see you soon.